Morning, Mason Kale. Just want to check in. I was thinking last night about topics, things to talk about, and what I kept kind of going back to is when I first came into the program, first trying to get that alcohol out of my life and quitting drinking, and the importance of going to meetings, and why I did it, and why I think it helped me so much. Why I think that's so important for the newcomer to get comfortable with meetings, to get in that habit of going. You know, we're told that you got to change your playmates, your playpens, your playthings. And one way to do that is to find some good meetings and become a regular. Absolutely get a home group. But more importantly than that, you know, when you first come into this program, you need to find a place you can go 3, 4, 5, 7 times a week at some points in my sobriety. I've gone to meetings every day. And what that did for me, you know, on top of the specifics of what was actually said, how I was taught to live my life without alcohol, was it gave me, you know, I use a word like a sanctuary, but for a lot of us when we first come into the program or we're first trying to live our lives without alcohol, you know, at this point in my life, when I need to feel comfortable, when the world's just kind of getting too big, too crazy, you know, the comfortable place or safe place for me to go to kind of get my thoughts together, get my stuff together is home. I go home, I have a very supportive family. And that, you know, I can go home and I can get that warm feeling that feels like that's where I'm supposed to be. And in the beginning, though, when you're trying to change the way you live your life, going home isn't always the most sane, calm, serene, you know, place to be. Especially whenever, you know, folks around you don't always know what you're going through, whether it's an apartment, your house, your parents, your spouse, your kids, your friends, whatever. And what meetings provided me was a place to go that I could, you know, walk in, get a cup of coffee, sit down, look across the table and say to somebody, hey, how you doing today? And what those conversations provided for me really changed my perspective on going about my business and my day. Whether it was before and after a meeting conversations, whether it was saying the Serenity Prayer, listening to what we do to live life without alcohol with other people, just changes the perspective. It just makes the days go better. In the beginning, it's a little bit tough, but as you go, you really look forward to walking in and sitting down and feeling like you are at home. It's like a warm blanket, very serene feeling. You feel like you're where you're supposed to be. There have been times in sobriety, you know, really early that I didn't want to leave those meetings, want to stay there because it felt really safe. But that's not what it's all about. What we're there to do is learn how to go through life with the outside world. But it changed my perspective so greatly, whether it was, you know, for me, what worked really well, because I was working nights, my family owned a bakery, and so I worked all night long. So for me, what became able to do, and I was in St. Louis at the time where there's thousands of meetings, is I found a group of meetings in the morning, and I would go, you know, Monday through Friday. I'd go Saturday at noon. I went Sunday morning, you know, to a group called the Gratitude Hour. I went to 5 to 7 meetings a week consistently for the first 2, 3, probably up to 5 years in sobriety, at least 5. And I went in the morning, which to me, that was the end of my day because I worked all night, went home, took a shower, went to a meeting, and that was the end of my day. Whether you go to a morning meeting before work, whether you go to meetings at night, you know, after work, you just got to get into kind of a routine where there's people around that you know, people around that know you. You'd be surprised how those people can pick up when serious stuff's going on. You'd be surprised how you can learn to see people and see, hey, are you doing okay? And just ask them and just have a conversation. They don't all have to be, you know, the deepest, most meaningful, soulful, you know, soul-digging conversations. Sometimes just having a plain conversation with somebody that's going through a rough time can make all the difference in the world. And I felt very lost when I first came into this program. I felt that, you know, I didn't have that home or that safe place to be, or that comfort place. It felt like everything I was doing was changing, and it felt like maybe, you know, as I went to these meetings, it kind of felt like, boy, I just got to get to that meeting because I feel better there. And feeling better there, you know, to me kind of replaced that I just got to get that drink after school. I just got to get that hit after work. I just got to get that because at that point, that was my safe place. That was my comfort zone. And as I went to meetings more regularly, that became my comfort zone, which changes your perspective on things. You learn to listen to people, you learn to see what's going on, and you start to feel a part of something valuable. I felt a part of a whole lot of things in groups, before that point, but I never really felt like I was a part of something that was good for me, good for others, that had that kind of a soul enriching type of environment. And so telling you, it doesn't have to be 90 meetings in 90 days. A lot of people say that, and that's a wonderful thing if you can do it. But to set a goal like that, it can be tough because it's a pretty easy goal to fail if something comes up and you just can't go one day. And this isn't all about, being a failure. What this is about is doing your best every day to make yourself a better person. And for me, going to meetings regularly, getting to know those people, I didn't have to follow every suggestion that was made, and nobody had to follow any suggestions I was made. But it gave me a good surrounding of good people that were on the same page and had the same goal, which was to get through this life one day at a time, without alcohol, because I didn't know how to do that until I found the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and a higher power, and which grows into, just seeing the world differently. And that all started for me with learning how to incorporate in my day, going to meetings on a regular basis. So it's just something to think about. I love y'all. Have a great day.